If you've got access to horse, cow, or rabbit manure, you have a significant opportunity to help your garden grow and help your garden be prosperous in the new year. I'm Justin Hitt from Prosperity Homestead. And what I'm doing right now is I'm spreading this rabbit manure. Now, the great thing about rabbit manure is that the bedding plus rabbit manure is garden safe. It's not going to burn anything. Now, I'm spreading it here in February when we have cover crops in place. And I'm slinging it on the beds. You can see I covered that area. And by the way, folks, this is work. If you have dreams of a small farm, homestead, or estate, and you're not willing to put in the work necessary to get the foundation started, then you won't be in a position to benefit from the prosperity, the food, the financial security that comes. And it's because you have to plant the seed, start in a small way in order to start on the right path of good quality food, of healthy animals, healthy family. And I tell you this because a lot of folks see how much we're covering right now. So you can see a couple fields here. It's a field down there. It's about 2 acres total, this entire space. And folks think, hey, that's a lot of work. That's a lot of work. I don't know if I could do it. And those who do it realize life is a lot of work. And this is just a different type of work. So it's really not that difficult to spread the manure around. The animals literally make it every day with the appropriate technology, appropriate tools. You can move the manure down to your garden area. I even looked at one design that would have the rabbit hutches out here on the field itself. But ultimately, the rabbit manure, if it's got some wood chips in it or some kind of bedding material in it, it is very high in nitrogen. You can smell the ammonia coming off of it. But ultimately spread thin on the garden before a rain event will help you soak that into the ground. What we're going to end up here, this field has wheat on it. We're going to let this get about knee high and to start building up that biomass. It'll grow right through this rabbit manure that's been thrown in here. You can see where the daikon radishes have died off. And then when this is nice and thick with a good deep layer of material, we'll come through here until about 1 inch to 3 inches. Now this particular bed needs to be leveled out a little bit more. It's kind of got some humps and bumps in it. So I might put a little bit more tillage into it than would be normal. But ultimately, we're going to get the beds all leveled out because down here is for our bulk growing, corn, grains, biomasses. Up here, the bed in front of me right now is not a wildflower bed. It's actually a bulbed flower bed. I'm going to hit that with the flail mower before shortly. And on the other side is additional bulk beds. As we get up the hill, we get into more of our vegetables. Up the hill, I already spread manure over all of that. It takes about a cubic yard for about a 24 by 24 foot area. And there's a couple piles over there. But again, the design matters. I'm basically rolling this down a contour path. If I'm going uphill with an empty wheelbarrow. Majority of the materials come in upslope in this middle area, and then they come down onto the beds. These beds, if I till them out, I'll till them when I have some biomass on the beds. But if the biomass is above my knee height, I would go ahead and run the flail mower over it to bring it down. Now, you don't need to have a flail mower. You could have a sickle or just a regular mower. But I don't want to compact these beds because what we're doing is we're feeding the beds with the biomass grasses, the clover, the different pigeon peas that are out here, all of this cover crop. And then, of course, we're adding the manures. We're adding the manures. Now, there's cows on this property. We could add some cow manure. We could add this manure here. But ultimately, we throw it out. Again, like I've talked about in other videos, you take all the manure you have and spread it over as much square footage as possible. Because again, we're just feeding the soil. We're not trying to choke out the grasses because we're feeding it with the nitrogen fixing plants, such as the peas. We're feeding it with our biomass grasses. And then we're not tilling deep tillage. We're not tilling more than a couple inches just to kill off the crop and make it ready for us to put in our next set of crops. This could be the whole garden for somebody, or it could just be one type of plant for somebody else. It really just depends on what your design is. But again, do not be afraid to get out there and do the work at any scale. And then look at ways to recycle organic materials. Even this brush on these these flower bulbs will get chopped down and used to mulch the ground. The more mulch you can have and the less bare soil, the more likely you're going to have good quality biology under the soil. You know, this red Virginia clay needs the humus, not the humus like you put on crackers, but the humus. They need the basic organic materials added to it. And so we're going to transform this from clay using cover crops, animal manures, and other materials. Could you go get compost and spread compost on this? You certainly could. However, the energy that goes into producing the compost isn't necessary because we're going to grow bulk materials on these fields. We're going to basically grow grasses and biomass and corn and other types of crops that essentially are just going to create more crop residue to layer on the beds. If we till it in deeply, all that material is going to incorporate in the soil, but it will actually take nutrients out of the soil. It also exposes historical weeds. And if we simply just cut it, it's a little bit difficult to plant into if you just cut it shallow. So again, what we do is we spread the manures, because that's what we've got. And then we will go through and let the cover crops grow really tall. We'll flail it or sickle cut it, and then we'll go ahead and form it into beds, or in the case of the bulk crops, we'll just hand seed it and let it grow out. Folks, I'm Justin Hitt with Prosperity Homestead. If you've got questions about what we cover here, or you want to join us on a class and get some practical hands-on experience doing this, then you're going to visit www.prosperityhomestead.org. And then I'm going to get back here to spreading some manure, because we don't need outside fertilizer. Fertilizer prices are going crazy. We don't need the chemicals that are used in commercial farming today. And then sometimes I'm even worried a little bit about bringing in outside compost because of all the plastics in our soil. We know what we feed the rabbits. We know what we feed the cows. And we know it comes out ready to use to put on the beds. Now, we do turn the piles a couple times, but ultimately, if you've got questions about anything we cover here, visit me at www.prosperityhomestead.org. We'd love to answer your questions. We're here to help small farms, homesteads, and estates get the maximum value from their land and grow a sustainable and valuable small farm, homestead, or estate. Thanks for watching.